Call the meeting to order. If you will, I'd like to welcome everyone, and let's stand, pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now we have Pastor Mike McDonald, who will give our invocation.
Let us pray. Look graciously upon our town of Black Mountain, O Lord. Where there is arrogance, subdue it. Where there is need, supply it. Where there is error, correct it. And where there is justice and compassion, support it. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay. The announcements I have is we're looking forward to the second Citizen Academy graduation, which will be held November 22nd at the fire department. Anyone who'd like to come and see this second graduating class, you're welcome to do so. And we have Town Hall Day that's going to be November 6th and 7th. The Black Mountain Primary School, the whole third grade class is going to be coming over different parts of the day. And so we look forward to having the future town board members from the third grade coming to see us. And I'd like to remind everyone to be quiet while you're in the meeting. When you go to talking and whispering back there in the back row or in the front row, it disturbs the folks to where they can't hear. And there's been a request already from a resident that we have all of us talk into the mics. So just passing that on. And then turn your cell phones off and be quiet and courteous. And with that, we'll go on to proclamations. Carolyn Brown Day and Vice Mayor Maggie Tuttle.
It is indeed my pleasure to present this proclamation and recognize in this, would you please come up, Carol? Recognize this young lady who we have known each other probably all our lives. And I will tell you where she got her training for this 50 years of playing the piano and the organ at the Methodist Church here in town. In our mother church at Tabernacle Methodist Church. And she was the pianist there when I was in the choir, and I thought I could sing. Children's choir, yes. Yes, we were. But that's where it all began. So it's my pleasure to present this proclamation to Carolyn and for Carolyn. It's a proclamation for Carolyn Brown Day, November 2019. Whereas the Black Mountain United Methodist Church will be commemorating Carolyn Brown's 50 years of continuous service to the church. And whereas since 1968, Carolyn Brown has served the Black Mountain United Methodist Church as the organist, and whereas this dynamic and humble woman has demonstrated excellence in her calling as a woman of God. The members of the Black Mountain United Methodist Church body extend to her and her beautiful family their sincerest love and appreciation. They are proud to call her their church organist and friend, and thank her for all she has done over the past 50 years, looking forward to her continued service for many years to come. And now, therefore, I, Maggie Tuttle, Vice Mayor of the town of Black Mountain, and the Board of Aldermen and the Mayor, express sincere appreciation for her tireless volunteerism and dedicated service, and recognize the significant impact of her dedication and commitment to her church. Thanks.
Thank you, Maggie. Now we have citizen comments. The first up will be Elaine Lotzenheimer. If you will come up, give us your name, your address.
I'd like to ask you, Mr. Mayor, if you would remove the first item, well, actually, I think it's the third item, B, resolution to adopt code of ethics off the consent agenda, so it can be addressed. I have a couple of items I'd like to speak to on that.
You continue. You got 3 minutes.
If you have a comment, Elaine, you need to make it. I don't know if the board, because in the event the board doesn't decide to put it on.
Well, I thought I had to ask permission first since it's on the consent agenda.
No, you can discuss anything during the citizen comment.
So I'll just go ahead and make my comments.
If you
Okay.
want the board to hear, you probably want to do that.
Page 1 of the Code of Ethics, that's B in your packet. Page 1 of 5, under the General Principles and Code of Ethics, paragraph 3, it says governmental decisions and policy must be made and implemented through proper channels and processes of the governmental structure. Board members must be able to act in a manner that maintains their integrity and independence, yet is responsive to the interests and needs of those they represent, the entire town, to me. And the other item I wanted you to look at is page 4 of 5, section 5, paragraph 2. In order to ensure strict compliance with the laws concerning openness, the mayor and board of aldermen have made it clear that an environment of transparency and candor is to be maintained at all times in the government unit. They should take deliberate steps to make certain that any meetings held by the body are lawfully conducted and that such meetings do not stray from the purposes for which they are called. That ends my quote from those resolution. While I agree wholeheartedly with what's in these two statements, I feel that if the board requests members of the individual boards and commissions to sign this code of ethics, that they should abide by the same code themselves. That was my comment.
Thank you, Elaine. Next, Terry Hartbarger, is it?
She's already spoken.
Okay.
Mark her name off the list.
All right. Elizabeth Swan, holiday decorations.
I want to thank the board and Mr. Mayor for having me this evening. My name is Elizabeth Swan. I live on Gatchell Street, and my objective this evening is to get the board to approve new decorations for the Lakeview Center. The ones we have is very old, they're faded, and also we'd like to have, if possible, new lights around the lake, maybe out there on the little island, and I don't know what finance budget that would fall under, but we had the board meeting today at the advisory board at the center, and we were discussing that, and if you can see your way clear to approve new decorations while the holiday season's coming up, it'd be great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Roberta Madden.
Good evening. My name is Roberta Madden. I live at 118 Church Street. Tomorrow's election day in many of our towns and cities and states around the United States. And it should be an election day for our Board of Aldermen. But it is not, because this body has canceled the election and has given the aldermen an extra year without having to face the voters. I know, and you know, This is just not right. At a time when many citizens are distrustful of public officials, this action has further eroded our confidence in those who are supposed to represent us. I'm disappointed in the Board of Aldermen.
Thank you, ma'am. Seeing no more citizen comment, people have signed up. We now have our communications from board, commissions, and agencies. And the first up will be on the geese control update. Kathy?
Kathy. Did that just start with? Yeah, forward and back. He's a little shy. Sit, Calvin. Sit, buddy. Good boy. Good evening. I'm Kathy Punchin, and this is Calvin, the town goose dog. About a year and a half ago, Maggie Tuttle came to my husband Bill and I and asked us if we would take on the responsibility of the dog the town had purchased for goose control. Since we love busy, smart dogs, Calvin became a member of our family. Calvin's trainer from Flyaway Geese, a company based in Charlotte, came to train me. By the way, Calvin came with an instruction manual. She told me having a working border collie is like having a quirky child. We don't care for Calvin alone. We have plenty of support from our friends, fellow golfers, Brent Miller and the guys at the pro shop, and the people who work in the town office. Last year, the golfers at the Black Mountain Golf Course held a fundraiser to help with our expenses. We made a short PowerPoint that tells a little bit about Calvin's life with us and explain why getting a goose dog for Black Mountain was a good idea and why he is effective. I'll try to answer any questions after the presentation. How do I start it?
Click forward.
Click forward.
It's trying to go on.
Oh, it's on its own. Let me go back. There. Isn't that a great picture? That's from Jack Ollis. Most of these pictures are taken by Jack Ollis. The way this works is Calvin chases the geese off the golf course, and then Bill and Daisy wait at the lake in the kayak, and then they don't land because they see Bill and Daisy. Now, Calvin's camped across the country from here to Seattle and then from here to Wisconsin. So he's traveled across the country. The fact that Calvin and Daisy have made an impact on the goose population is undeniable. For now, the geese have moved on. Walks around the lake and around the Gulf are much more pleasant. The spring will offer a new challenge when the geese return. Okay, are there any questions about Calvin and what we do?
How old is Cal?
He's 2. He's 2.5. His birthday's in April. He started working at 13 months.
How long will he continue to work?
10 years is what we're hoping for. Yes.
I get a lot of, I'm Josh Anderson, the recreation director. I get a lot of calls in my office about geese at the lake and things of that nature, and often they ask about, why Calvin's not out there or where he's at. Can you talk a little bit about the seasons that he runs and what that's like?
Right now the geese are gone, but starting in May when they nest, and they molt, we're not allowed to chase them. But we're hoping that this year they don't stop it and nest. And they're going to allow us on the island this year, so that's going to help to keep them from nesting. The only problem with that is we're going to disturb the ducks too. So I have to kind of figure out what we can do to keep the geese away and not disturb the ducks. But yeah, from May to August is yeah, nesting season. But right now they're gone. And how often do I go? I go 5 days a week at least, most of the time 6. And when the geese are there, we're there sometimes twice a day.
What did you say they were going to do to the island?
Nothing. We weren't allowed on the island last year, so we couldn't. The geese would go on the island, and there was nothing.
And you couldn't get to them.
We couldn't do anything. But this year, there's no reason that we can't allow Calvin on the island.
Okay.
Any other questions? Like I said, right now they're gone. The only one we see is the crippled goose that can't fly, and the ducks.
Do you attribute the fact that they're gone to having Calvin?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. You saw how we get them off the lake. We put the dogs in the kayak and paddle up to the geese, and when they see the dogs, and they take off.
What does the dog do if the geese don't move?
They move. The reason they move is he looks like a coyote, and their instinct is to be afraid of coyotes, so that they're never going to get used to Calvin. Now, they get used to the Labradors and the Golden Retrievers, but they won't ever get used to Calvin because he looks, well, you saw from the one picture, he looks like a coyote. He moves like a coyote. So they think he's a predator.
Plus, we've gotten to the point now where when they see him, they go. They
Yeah,
just
they
have to show
take
up.
off.
I mean, it's incredible how they'll fly.
Yes.
It's a big advantage because I go to the center 5 days a week, and the goose poop over there was horrific. Visitors make a comment about it, you can't walk for the poop. So he's doing a great job.
Yeah, there is none. And we walk the lake too. But I check it almost every day. And I check all 18 holes almost every day. So, in fact, he's kind of sad because there's nothing to chase. Any other questions?
All right, thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Hand it off to Brent.
Our golf annual report. Brent Miller.
All right. Mayor Board, thanks for having me up tonight. I'm going to give you a brief update of the fiscal year 18-19 at the Black Mountain Golf Course, or the year of the floods, we might want to call it. So how did 10 feet of rain, it's actually 10 plus feet of rain, impact the golf course? Well, as you can imagine, it was a struggle. We had 114 days closed from July 1 to June 30th. That's July 1, 18 to June 30th, 19. That's 39 more days than we were closed in 2017-18 season. And, when you miss that much time, it's hard to make it up. You can actually, obviously can't make up time. You can try to do better on the days that you're open, but you're going to fall short when you miss that many days. The way that's calculated, those are days that were actually closed. The golf course is unplayable, whether it's because of rain, snow, ice. If it's just too cold, I don't really count that. If I've got 2 or 3 people that play, we're open that day. We did a total of 16,426 rounds. You can see that's down 18,761 from the previous year. Again, that's just days missed. Wet condition leads to unplayable conditions even when the rain is not falling. So, we have to be cart path only a lot when it's raining. If we've got an older clientele, a lot of times they don't want to play cart path only. So it hurts our rounds again. And there's really not a lot we can do about that if we want to protect the golf course. Missed outings, that's a really big thing. We lost both our Elks Lodge events this year. We also lost the New City Christian School event. That had 124 people playing in it last year, and they had 128 booked this year, and both dates got rained out, the actual play date and the rain date. So, there's just not a lot you can do. How are our revenues impacted? Well, you can see the 17-18 season is in blue. We actually made more in greens fees because we adjusted our greens fee rate and went up a little bit. Cart fees was down, pro shop sales were down. Less people in there, the less pro shop sales we're going to do. 3-year trend, you can kind of see back at 16-17 fiscal year. That was one of the better years we've had in a long time. So obviously, we were short of that in 17-18. Again, short of that in 18-19. But a little bit of good news. Since July 1st, the rain stopped. The red there is all of our categories for this season. I just had Dean check for me. This is from July through September. But through October, we're $40,000 ahead on carts and greens fees than we were July 1 to October 31st last year. So we're averaging about 10,000 more a month. And it's just because we've got a lot of days open, we're able to play more. So I think we'll probably see that trend continue. It's been a little slow starting out here in November because it's been cold. But I think we'll have some good days, and we don't expect a lot through the winter. So. Annual pass versus daily fee. We're seeing a lot of our annual pass holders, if you looked at those membership numbers, they're down a little bit. They're dropping off because our senior rate's pretty competitive. We're also offering a player's pass option, which is $200 for the year, and you get a discount each time you play if you have the player's pass option. It's more for people who aren't going to play 200 times in a year. They're going to play 60 times, and it just works out a lot better for them financially. So moving forward, we kind of have to focus on either adjusting that membership rate up a little bit like our competitors are doing, and try to become more competitive. Because if you look right here, this is Black Mountain membership rates versus the competitions. We're the blue line down there, that's $9.50. Asheville Municipal is the red line, they're $12.50. The green line is Reams Creek, I believe that's around $1,500. The purple is Silver Creek Plantation. They're just under 2,000, or excuse me, sorry, I'm having trouble seeing that. I believe it's about 1,650. Mimosa Hills is just under 2,000, and Rumbling Bald is almost 3,000 a year for the membership. So you can see, the golf course is good. It's easily as good as Asheville Municipal. This year it was quite a bit better. You guys maybe have seen some articles in the paper. They've really struggled. So if we're producing a better product and presenting it to the people, we should probably focus on getting those numbers up a little bit. Maintenance challenges. That's our 10th green and 18 fairway. You can see it's totally flooded. That's just one time that happened this year. It happened multiple times. That's when we get 4 and 5 inches of rain in 24 hours. So 2018 was the wettest year on record with 124 inches of rain. So that actually affected the 17-18 season and the 18-19 season. Moisture continued to fall through early summer of 19. We started seeing it dry up in May. Started looking a little bit better. And our play went up, especially in June. High cost of fungicide to keep the greens alive. Basically what that means is if it's really wet out and it's hot out, especially through the summer, we have to fight disease. The way you have to do that is with spray patterning. You end up having to spray more because we're getting more moisture to keep things alive. Another thing we have to deal with is aging irrigation. So if the turf gets soft, we've got old irrigation in the ground. It's easy for those big mowers to run over certain things that they can't even see, and it breaks underground, and then we end up with an irrigation leak that we have to fix. And then standing water in the fairways with nowhere to drain. We have worked on that some. We've got more to do. We've got a couple projects that we're going to be working on in 17 fairway and 11 fairway this winter. But we kind of have to do that when play, obviously, isn't out there, so we can keep people coming to the golf course. And I believe we've got another stormwater project coming up, another leg of that. So that'll be beneficial. How do we combat these problems? Well, one of the best things we can do is top dress heavily. We did that this 2 times in a row now. We've gone out with an extra ton of sand, an extra load of sand. It's actually 26 extra tons. And the reason that we're doing this is to get better drainage in the greens when we have all this rain falling. If we go out with that extra 26 tons, now that's spread out over 18 greens, it eliminates part of our thatch layer and allows water to drain and produce a healthier green. Also, we've moved to what they call the holiday spray pattern on the greens and tees, and basically what we're doing, we're increasing our spray rate, and it kind of coincides with the holidays. July, you got July 4th. The holidays in August, I can't think of it off the top of my head, but it is in line with those. We used to be on about a 6-week pattern, now we're on a 4-week pattern. And people who have played the course, the greens are as good as they've been in a very long time. And I think that's, part of the reason why. And then new power for some of our irrigation boxes that we've been having problems with. The irrigation was working really erratically, and we finally figured out it was because we were having a lot of shorts in the wires that have been on the ground for 20 plus years. So we've got those fixed, and the irrigation, not that we needed it a lot this past year, but it is back up and running and working well. Here's a picture just so you can see what I'm talking about with that top dressing. It looks like, you're at the beach. And then this is 16 green after a grow-in. 16 green's been one of our hardest greens to keep alive for multiple years now. But if you look at that, that's very healthy. Part of that is because we root pruned it last year. I talked about that last time I was up here. And then increasing the amount of sand on the greens to get rid of that thatch layer, you're seeing a lot healthier turf. And then goose control, I didn't know Kathy was going to do this, but I will say this, it's been very beneficial to us. I would say the geese have been reduced by about 95%. There's still a few out there occasionally. Calvin connects with the golfing community. The people like to see him out there. They love to see him riding around on a golf cart because they know what he's out there for. And player feedback, obviously, is positive. The droppings are gone, and healthier turf. They eat a ton of turf. So if we've got 130 geese out there, you can imagine the destruction that they do. And a tap-in grill promotion. We do have a RFP out on our tap-in grill right now, so if anybody's interested in leasing that space, we're taking proposals. I believe it's November the 25th. Does that sound right? November 25th? That you have to have it turned in by. You can turn it in here to Town Hall if you have any interest in taking over the tap-in grill. So, anybody have any questions for me? Nope.
I would like, I heard a rumor, I hope it was only a rumor, that this group was considering selling the golf course for home sites.
Yeah, I hope that's true. That, not to my knowledge.
You haven't heard that one? Okay, good. Good.
Any questions from the board? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Brent.
All right, James Matthews.
Evening, Mayor and Board. This is Public Works annual report for 2018 for streets and parks. On some of the street stuff on our capital projects, pretty repetitive stuff from year to year. We've got to have paving and sidewalks and street striping. So we did approve $100,000 for paving last year and got Bartlett Street, Ridge Street, Buckeye, and Burnett. Got those streets paved in 2018. On the street striping, we ended up doing several roads, but we didn't get done because of the contractor we was using. He had a faulty machine and some new employees, and it just didn't work out. So we ended up putting that money back in the general fund and ended up making up for it this year. And we've already done 36 roads that's complete on the east side of town and working this way. And we spent $25,000 on that. We got $25,000 more dollars budgeted that we're going to finish up, and we're going to finish up downtown and finish striping Cherry Street and getting that project done and seeing how that works out. We budgeted when we moved into our new building to build a new salt bin. We were sort of shy on storage when we had snow events, and so we ended up saving a bunch of money there because when we moved in the new building, they had some block walls built down there where they stored their dumpsters. So we got to looking at it and decided that'd be a good place for a salt bin, so we reinforced them walls, and then the rest of the top was lumber, so we didn't have no labor for masonry work or anything like that. So we got that done for approximately $8,500 where it would have cost about $20,000. So our bridge inspections was due in 2018, and just to compliment what Brent said, 2018 was horrible for floods. I have to inspect the dams every year, and I know that year in one of those events we had 9.25 inches of rain. Anytime you have 4 inches of rain less than 24 hours, it qualifies for an inspection. So there was a lot of inspections done on our dams last year, but the good news is they were inspected by Division of Environmental Quality, myself, and we got good results back, but in the process of that, we had the toe of the dam leaking at Lake Tomahawk, which is very common on a lot of dams across the state, so it's not really a concern, but it is something by law you've got some protocol you have to go by, and we did, and it's documented, and so we're coming up with a problem or a solution to fix that problem now, which I'll talk about shortly. On the maintenance side of things, asphalt, we put out 48 tons in-house of asphalt, which when I started my career here, you could get asphalt for about $40 a ton. Now it's ranging, but depending on petroleum costs, because that controls a lot of it, anywhere from the high 80s to over $100 a ton, and that can change weekly or daily. So it's not a yearly thing. So we sort of have to go by that, but right now it's ranging about $100 a ton. Culvert replacements, we've done several of them this year due to stormwater failures and stuff, and tried to upgrade a lot of the system, and have done a lot. Ditching is something that we do year round, but we just have to prioritize it through the year. It's hard to do in the wintertime when the ground's froze, so we try to do spring and summer on that, so it's coming to an end on a lot of those projects. Tree removal, something we do every year. We've removed a lot of trees this year that with safety issues are dead. And then storm cleanup from Alberto and Florence. That's sort of what I was touching on. They caused us a lot of problems as far as maintenance this year, but the guys done an excellent job with what they done, and so I'm very proud of them. And they got the job done and got the maintenance done on it. Snow removal. This was interesting for me. We had the second biggest snow we ever had in history last year. And it's very wet snow and very heavy, and a lot of you will probably remember it caused a lot of collapses on carports and buildings downtown. And in turn, we have the town split up into 6 sections, and there's a truck in each section. Well, there's 260 some roads in this town, and you split that up between 6 people. That's a lot of roads to take care of, and a lot of them's little rural roads and narrow. And so we got 3 main areas of what we call high country within the department. That's Black Mountain Estates, Timber Park, and Hunting Lodge. Well, the time these crews come through, it had snowed so much and was so heavy, we was unable to get access to these places. First time since I've been here. So we had to come up with a solution for that. And hopefully we have, because, we've bid it out and have got on board with a new company that does a lot of work for municipalities and DOT. So we're hopeful and glad to work with them, and we hope it goes well this year. But personally, on a personal note, I'll be glad if the sun just shines. So saves us a lot of money and a lot of heartache. But hopefully we're prepared if it comes. Learning curve, but that was definitely a tough situation. Hemlock inoculation, we treat hemlocks every year. We got over 1,000 we treat. We treat them every 3 years. We done 377 trees last year. Getting ready to do about that many tomorrow, and one of the main advocates of that's wrote in articles and stuff actually come to one of our urban forestry meetings, and he was from the state, and he was so intrigued by how we hadn't lost as many trees as we had that he's actually coming out tomorrow to ride with one of the crew members to see how we do it, because when I told him how we do it, he was really amazed because there's several ways to inject that stuff in those trees. But the guys come up with a great idea that they put it on a side-by-side and they come up with a tank that sprays pesticides, but we're not using pesticides. We're using the chemical to treat the woolly adelgid that kills the hemlocks. But we took it even further and designed it to where when you measure the base of the tree, it takes so many injections. Well, we designed the tip of that thing to where it'll supply the right amount of injections when we put it in around the tree, so it makes our jobs quicker to getting them done. So we can treat probably 1,000 trees in less than a week if we wanted to, but because they're on a 3-year cycle, we split them up. So that'll be starting tomorrow. On parks maintenance, parking lot repairs alone, we put out 14.5 tons of asphalt just due to a lot of what we call alligatoring, and water gets down inside the asphalt, makes the base soft, and then it causes the asphalt to get up, or come up. So we put out the 14 tons to try to repair the parking lots in a lot of the public parking areas. And we was on a manual field on the town square fountain, and so we come up and ended up putting an auto field where when it gets so low it'll fill on its own. So that saved us on man hours, and we still check it periodically to make sure the pumps and everything are working. But it seems to be working real good. It keeps it self-filled now, so it keeps the guy from having to go up there every morning and check it. So we installed that. Lakeview repair, because of all the rain, they had a faulty gutter that was leaking inside a windowsill up there that caused a lot of damage to Lakeview. And there was a lot of money spent repairing the walls, outside structures in the kitchen, which led into downstairs. But all those have been replaced. Everything's fixed. Everything's working properly. And so we got that done. Lake Tomahawk Dam repairs I spoke about earlier. They did tell us that it's going to have to be repaired, and it could be up in the possibility of somewhere around $50,000. We don't know for sure because the state's or DEQ, Division of Environmental Quality, is reviewing the plans now, and SM&Me, which is an engineering company, is actually designing it. So I've actually seen some blueprints of it. And basically what it is, it's a tow drain that they put in at the base of the dam, and what it is, it's basically like a French drain, but it's just a little more logistical, but it does the same purpose. So once we get that back, see what we got to do, then we can move forward on fixing that. Lake Tomahawk stormwater management, Josh had applied for a grant when he worked here before in planning, and we had some money left over for that. And Wildlands Engineering, we got with them, we met with them on site, and if you remember, there used to be a lot of water that stood outside the pavilion, and when you'd have park rhythms through the summer, it was really hard for people to get around because there's standing water there. Well, if you've noticed, you don't have that much anymore because there's some swales out there with French drains built in, so it's really neat how they designed this thing, and it's really been working really good. So every time I've been over there, it's been dry, and plus it looks good. It's not an eyesore. So hopefully we've fixed that problem that's been going on for years there. Our dam inspections, I spoke of that already. That stuff's been sent off. Everything's good there. And then storm damage to the Greenway from Alberta and Florence, that washed out again on Flat Creek, which we all know if anybody walks the Greenways. But working with Jessica and JLS, which built it to begin with years ago, that has been repaired and fixed now, and hopefully, fingers crossed, hopefully we won't have to fix it a third time. But you never know with the rains we get nowadays. But it's been fixed. Total work orders for streets and parks at a 3-year trend. They're staying pretty steady. They're within 100 of each other, and that can change from variable from how many people's on a crew, what the work order is. There's a lot of variables why that can change, but it's 2103 and 16, 1939 and 17, and 2027 for this year. So it's staying within 100 of each other every year. Me personally, I'd like to see the number go a whole lot lower because it would show a lot less maintenance on a lot of stuff like stormwater and tree removals and things of that nature. But I will show you something that's pretty interesting here. On the chart, if you break down the total work orders for those two departments, you can see, and I'm like Brent, I can't hardly see it, but I got it right here. It breaks them down in numbers and what they're for, and if you'll see that biggest chunk, it says town property. And the mowing of trees is 13% because a lot of that's summertime stuff. But when you flip over to this one, it breaks down the town property, and you can see it sort of split in half. There's a total of 1,092 work orders, and downtown restrooms are 32% of that. Well, the reason that being is there's somebody that checks these restrooms, and there's multiple restrooms around town. You got Tomahawk, you got Town Square, you got Cherry Street, and I will tell you that, you know, they're stocked every day. The ones on Cherry Street's twice a day, and it's amazing how much money that goes out on these restrooms because a lot of times people are not so kind to our restrooms, and that's sad to say, but it's true. You know, there's a lot of painting, a lot of heat and issues and water problems, and there's a lot of stuff that could be avoided. But we do take care of that, and that's part of the job. So we spend a lot of time there, and then the rest of it, if you look at a lot of these, 23% of it is parks maintenance, and then it just goes around. 4% is Lakeview, and if you look to the right, then you can see 348 for the restroom. That's almost a work order a day. And then 254 for parks, 90 for public works department, and that's where we've done a lot of remodeling on the new facility down there. And then 68's on town buildings. It could be here or any other facility in town. So a lot of self-generated work orders that I'm proud of for the department because it's being proactive, and I like that. But moving forward into 2019, we got a lot of projects going on. We're still street striping. We're still going to pave. Hopefully we can pave a few more roads this year, getting budgets on roads. Got $50,000 more to spend on paving, so that's good. We'll see how far and we can squeeze that money and how many roads we can get out of that. And we installed some trees. We're still installing trees on State Street and the Forest pave. We got some more of that done. But all this will come out in 2019. And then our bridge repairs that was done in 2018 during the floods, they come to inspect those bridges during the floods, and there was trees and everything washed underneath them. We had to spend about a week with trackhoes and dump trucks cleaning out from under before they could even inspect them. And we ended up doing $54,000 worth of repairs to those bridges this year from 2018, and we're on a biannual inspection. So it really worked out good because we've got a lot of that maintenance done, and they're getting ready to inspect again in 2020. So I just sent the pictures and the repairs to the state the day before yesterday. He's done replied back, thanking us and telling us everything looks good. So we can cross our fingers, hopefully, for the bridge inspections in 2020. Got a lot of sidewalks being built. That stuff will come up in 2019 also. But there's a lot going on in town and a lot getting done. And but if you got any questions, I'd be more than glad to answer any of them.
Thank you, James. Thanks, James.
All right. Consent agenda 5A will be adoption of minutes. These will be the October 10th, 2019 agenda session, October 14th, 2019 regular session. Item 5B is a resolution to adopt a code of ethics. This, after speaking with Attorney Sneed, this would be somewhat of a best practice. When it was adopted a number of years ago, it was done as an ordinance, and the resolution would be a better way to adopt this. I will say the only change to this section is that we added an attendance section to the resolution. Item C, it's going to take me a couple minutes to go through this, but I'll try and hit the high points on item C, which is an ordinance to amend sections of Chapter 2, Chapter 4, and Chapter 20 of the Boards and Commissions section in the Town Code. Let's see, staff updated the sections of each advisory board and commission ordinance for consistency and to comply with the North Carolina General Statutes. In the administration section, we added a section detailing the powers of the mayor, and it's referred to as the council, which is the Board of Aldermen, regarding boards and commissions, and the creation, appointment, and authority. In Chapter 2, for Planning Board, we added language contained in our Code of Ethics for attendance, and we clarified that the secretary may also be a staff member, which is how that works currently. Chapter 2, as far as Recreation Commission goes, we added language contained in the Code of Ethics for attendance. We clarified the role as an advisory board and removed the authority to supervise recreation facilities and activities and have staff report to the Recreation Commission. These procedures were established before 1986, before this board adopted the council manager form of government, and now everything runs through the manager and Board of Aldermen. And there's not the formation of a commission specific to each department. We also removed the authority for them to accept gifts and property on behalf of the town. We think that's something that the Board of Aldermen should be doing. Chapter 2, also, as far as Zoning Board of Adjustment, oddly enough, we did not have a section referencing the creation of a Zoning Board of Adjustment, as is referenced in the General Statutes in 160A388. We've operated that for as long as we've had a ZBA. We just didn't have that in our town code, so we'd like to add that to it. They will also serve without compensation, as all our boards do, as far as the boards and commissions. Chapter 2, Historic Preservation Commission, we also added language to that, which is in our Code of Ethics for attendance. We clarified also the secretary may be a staff member. So you're starting to see a little bit of a pattern. We're making sure that all the boards and commissions are consistent with the Code of Ethics and the attendance and things like that. Chapter 2 in Greenways, we did remove, actually, let me back up. In the consent agenda, or in the agenda meeting we had previous to this meeting, you guys decided that you wanted to leave that in there. So we've left that section in there that does allow them to appoint subcommittees and advisory bodies. So that is left in there. And Angel says it'll change the numbering, but that's okay. Chapter 4, as far as the ABC Commission, we also added language referencing the state law, which grants them their power for local ABC boards, which is NCGS 18B-700. And we also added an attendance section to that commission, and we stated that they shall serve without compensation from the Board of Aldermen. They do get compensated by the ABC Commission, so we wanted to make sure we were clear on that. And then Chapter 20, which is the Urban Forestry Commission, we added the section regarding attendance, so they would all be consistent. And that is it for C. Now I'll go to 5D, which is advisory boards, commissions, committees, and policy revision. This is the handbook that the boards and commissions receive when they come on board. So this includes all the previous information we had in the current one we have today. It also includes some new material that expands their roles and responsibilities as advisory members as well as staff. It includes some sections pertaining to public records, open meetings, attendance policies, and references our Code of Ethics. Allows members to sign one form rather than two forms, which is an acknowledgement of receipt form. And it includes a prohibition of advisory boards and commissions membership for creating and administering social media pages on behalf of the town of Black Mountain. So this would be Facebook, Twitter, whatever all the acronyms are. I don't follow all those. So what this does is it does a couple of things. It puts the person in charge of these as a staff member, which would be under the department director, under the town manager. It would make sure we're complying with North Carolina public records laws, which is very important. If you're not a staff member and haven't had any training on that, you have no idea what that is. And it also ensures that we are following our own social media policy that we've adopted for staff to abide by. And that in a nutshell is B, C, and D. 5E, I'm going to let Dean come up and go through this because I know I will butcher this as far as the budget amendment for Commerce Park infrastructure.
So items 5E, F, and G are all really related to each other. This involves the Commerce Park infrastructure project. This is the project down at Blue Ridge Road and I-40 where we're putting in a lot of water and sewer infrastructure in hope of being able to get some business down there. The Avadim company is in the process of building a site down there. When this project began in December of 2018, almost a year ago, on that date there was $1.655 million of grant revenue we received. The two largest sections of that were from the EDA and from Golden Leaf. And there was a $50,000 match from the Commerce Park itself. So that's $1.655 million in revenues. On that date, we also signed 3 contracts. One was with Cooper Construction. The other 2 were with Civil Design Concepts and the Land of Sky. Those 3 contracts totaled up to $1,640,000. So we really had $15,000 more of revenue on this project than we needed. Early on in the project, there's been a total of 3 change orders on this project. The first 2 added up to about $55,000, but Josh had some discussions with MSD. These were sewer-related change orders, so MSD agreed to pick up that cost. There's a third change order that has just come in, which is actually item G here, that we're actually asking the board for approval on. This is a $57,000 change order. This has to do with 4 separate valve locations? Correct. On the water lines. And this will require the town to contribute almost $42,000 to this project. There was $15,000 of extra revenue, so we're using that to fund a portion of this. By the time this all ends, you'll have a project that will total $1.75 million to improve water and sewer infrastructure in that area, as well as build us a new pump station, which will benefit a larger area as well. The town will, if this goes through, the town will have contributed $41,000. And we're hopeful there'll be no more change orders. But that's the long and short of it. Is that all water fund? That will come from the water fund because those will be water assets, yes.
It also mentioned on the pump station, it's not just parts of town, it's the entire town, the water.
Yes.
Comes into the night.
Yes.
So there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And in addition, is providing the water source for what? Now we have more new customers, but.
Yeah, there's about 330 new ones we'll be getting in about 6 months, and then an additional 300 or so 12 months after that. And this infrastructure project has really gone along just on schedule. I mean, this is going to be done around Christmas time, maybe a little bit into January.
The water and sewer part.
The water and sewer part of it, yeah.
I will say that if you look on the screen, we've got an intersection circled. So this change order is going to fund really what we would have been paying for our phase 2 water line takeover with Asheville regardless. Fortunately, we got to kind of piggyback on this grant. You get to use that $15,000, so that helps us. But what Asheville is requesting that we do is the line in green is the phase 2 takeover for us. The line in red is phase 3. If you look where we've got circled, Asheville originally thought they had the ability to cut off there, but they do not. So we're going to end up extending on out Cragmont Road to North Fork Road, and we're going to pick up about 30 customers or so, and that's about 2,400 foot of line. So I wanted to make sure that the board and the public was aware of that for this change order.
The other part too, for the public, that's not related to water and sewer, which is our business, but is the building itself, which is to be completed. Construction will start in 2020, according to the architects and of course that they're working for Avon. And when construction starts, it will be concluded within 12 months approximately.
Yeah,
You were at the meeting.
Yeah, they were saying, I think,
Yeah.
the February, March or so of 2021 is when they're sort of thinking it might be completed by.
But I think the easiest way is when they start construction, 12, and they're going to start in 2020.
Yeah.
It'll be 12 months. So
Right.
I know that folks in town, might want to note that clarity, because they've been waiting to be that clear for some time for various reasons.
And that'll be your consent agenda.
Yep.
So take it out.
Motion to approve consent items A through G as presented.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 4-0. All right, we have citizen comments, which I did not see anybody sign up for unfinished and new business. All right. Ron, unfinished business be 7A.
7A is the offer to purchase our old Public Works building down on US 70. As the board knows, we didn't put this out to market, but we were first approached by somebody making an offer for the property. Having received the offer, notice is run in the paper for upset bids. We did receive an upset bid, increasing the offer to $554,000. The 10-day period after publication of the next notice of opportunity to put in an upset bid passed without a bid. We have a contract. The high bidder is Jay Lurie. He's an investor. He doesn't have, to my knowledge, have a particular purpose in mind for the property at this point. He does have, his offer does contain a due diligence period given about January 18th, do his inspections and survey. Earlier in the discussion, we've got to reserve a right for the utilities, our pump station, and rather than spring for the money to get a survey done, to do that, then ask town manager, let's wait and see what we can get out of this buyer. Talked to the buyer today, and although he's interested, he was semi-interested in a survey. If we'll split the cost of a survey with him, he would do that. That basically cuts our survey cost in half to define our pump station area. The bid is out. We now have a contract. He has a due diligence period. The things he wants to do is obviously inspect. He wants to get the survey. He wants to get a level 1 environmental study done. And on February 18th, we'll know if an order is closed shortly after that. It's not contingent upon financing, to my knowledge, so once we reach that point, he should be ready to go.
So utility easements, but on the pump station, it's that ground underneath the pump station just not being sold.
Well, the choice is either to retain that little square and keep it, or just reserve an easement. The creation of a lot makes us violate our own zoning requirements, so I've been thinking easement all along.
Okay. Any questions from Ron? All right, Josh, Riverwalk Greenway update.
Everyone's been anxiously waiting for us to give you an update on the Greenway. This has been a long time coming. Well, we still haven't stuck the first shovel in the ground, but that will happen at some point. But what this update is about is, we've been working on this for a number of years with DOT. We got some funding through federal highways, or lots of funding through federal highways. Basically, 80% of this funding, which is let's say $5 million or so. And we've thought all along, just going back and forth with DOT for a number of years, that we were not going to be able to go or to use the existing culverts, box culverts under NC9. We are, in fact, able to use the existing box culverts under US 70, but they had turned us down multiple times on NC9. Well, some things have changed at DOT. I think they've got some new employees on board, and we now have the preliminary approval to go under NC9 using one of the existing box culverts. So what this means is it's going to save us a ton of money, for one. It's going to be much less inconvenient for folks because we're not going to have to close the street on NC9. So we're real excited about that and look forward to moving forward with that. I'll also say, which may not be some great news, but if you look on this diagram, this map, try to orient you here. The yellow line is what we had selected to use down Terry Estates. Then we're going to head south on the green line, kind of hugging the river back there. Well, unfortunately, we've met some resistance. Just speaking to some property owners, they do not want to give us easements. They're not interested in doing that at all. So what we've determined now is we're probably going to have to do the red option, which is down Terry Estates Drive, connecting to Vance Avenue. We are in process of working with NCDOT to see what this looks like. It's obviously not going to be a greenway that hugs the river, but unfortunately I don't know what other options we have in this area, since that was our planned route to go, and those folks are unwilling to give us an easement. So we are going to pursue the Terry Estates Drive option. There may be some cost savings there too from what was originally planned close to the river, but just wanted to bring you an update for that. It's still, according to our consultants and engineers that are working on it with us, Michael Baker, we are still on schedule to award the construction contract in June of 2021. So we're still about a year and a half out. Design is going to take quite some time. We hope to start in with right-of-way in January this coming year. And typically these federally funded projects, you've got to do the steps in order. You've got to do design, all the design, then you move to right-of-way, then you move to construction. So, the typical time frame for design was at least a year, right-of-way was a year, which is what we've got. We actually got 5-6 months scheduled here for right-of-way, but I think we're still on schedule where we were in the beginning. We haven't slowed down that much. It may seem that way, but we are still pushing forward. And I think with this new design on NC9, that's going to save time, money, and inconvenience for folks. But just wanted to bring you that update.
Any questions for Josh?
Josh, maybe for the sake of the public, but I think it would also be helpful to the board if, I'm sure it's around, but a summary of a bit of a timetable on the short one, is as concise as you could make it, but a timetable for the various components, and because construction is not going to start on every place in 2021.
Right.
It's still going to be stair steps. So I think, and I'm sure that I know that's there and I've seen it, but something that we could pull together that maybe give it to Fred. It might, if it's something that would work for him, it would help the public. But also maybe if it's too much for the paper, at least get it on our website or
Sure.
something.
Be happy to.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Anyone else? Okay, Jessica, public hearing for the Phase 2 stormwater. Give us an update.
All right, at our last meeting, I gave you about 3 long pages about what MS4 is in urban stormwater. Tonight I'll be much more concise. So you asked me to reconnect with some of my peers in other municipalities to see where they are with their stormwater programs, specifically to their post-construction ordinances. 7 of them reached out and responded in a timely manner. So I want to note that there's not a lot of consistency in this part of the state, but you will notice that when you look at what size storms municipalities are using, of the 7, 3 of them are using a 10-year storm, 2 are using the minimum 1-year storm, and 1 is using a 2-year storm. Of that same group, when you look at the area disturbed, 3 are using the minimum amount required by statute, and 3 are exceeding that. How they exceed that differs between all 3. Some use a built-upon area, and they use the 24% consideration. Montreat uses 5,000 square feet, which we discussed as well. And then still another one uses 50% impervious, being their trigger for area involved. So it's a mixed bag to say the least. I will note that I fielded many questions about what they are doing and how they are considering moving forward. No one said that they were fully satisfied with their stormwater ordinance, even those who had pretty significant restraints. Other things that they're doing are looking at holistic stormwater ordinances in addition to their post-construction. As we talked about last week, this is a very specific stormwater ordinance. It is not a full stormwater ordinance. So those are some things that they're doing as well. They're also looking at staff budgets and things like we all are for all of our programs. So those are the nuts and bolts.
Okay. Need a motion to reconvene our public hearing from last month.
I just think we continued, didn't we?
Yeah, continue.
They closed it?
That's
Okay,
what I thought.
Yeah.
Just update.
Okay, so there's no more input other than what the board asked.
Okay, motion?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any questions from Jessica?
I am looking at my copy and I'm looking for the reference to in this proposed ordinance, the 25 years. What section is that in?
We used, with the proposed ordinance, was a 25-year storm
Right.
and a 5,000 square foot disturbed.
What section? Where I'm looking for it. Where is it?
It would be under I don't have a copy of the full ordinance in front of me.
Josh, does everybody have it in front? I just was looking for it. I just wanted to
Permit
reference
required, it would be toward the top.
it. At the top of a page. I can't find it.
5,000 square foot in a couple of sections there in the
Yeah, I'm
beginning.
seeing lots of 5,000.
Then
I don't see
the
25.
size storm is under design standards, I think,
Design standards.
or and/or general provisions.
It is, I hate these on page number, but it's under section 8.2-15, section C on the back.
Oh, okay. Eight, 2, 1, 5C.
There it is, at the top of that page, I believe.
Okay. So I do have a question for you. You said that we had heard that Montreat had a little more, a more stringent, a very stringent policy, but they're using 5,000.
And a 1-year storm. So, one of their numbers is more stringent, one of them is less stringent.
But I'm not getting where that's all that terribly stringent. That's what we talked about in our last
It's more than what we
hearing.
have above the state
The point
minimum.
was not a comparison. It was really just that Montreat had a very stringent policy. It doesn't sound all that stringent, frankly.
They're stringent on disturbance, but not on storm. Our disturbance right now is 12,000, so theirs is 5,000.
Yeah,
Our existing stormwater ordinance, our disturbance level is 12,000 square foot.
Yeah.
Montreat currently has a 5,000 square foot disturbance. So they're much more stringent on that end, but they're...
Explain disturbance to me.
So if you go in and do any kind of work on a lot, if you're disturbing the ground, building a house, clearing land, that counts as disturbance.
That's disturbance.
That's correct.
See, I thought that was what we're addressing with 5,000.
You would be. That's
But
correct.
you said we're currently 12.
We-
Bigger's bad.
That's correct.
Bigger's
Right,
bad.
right, it's backwards.
Yes. The
I'm
more-
sorry, I was going the wrong way.
Yeah, the more it is, the worse it is.
Yeah, I got you. Well, the only, I would make them up, Are we discussing? What are we doing?
You can discuss, and I also want to point out, I invited Andrew Vick, who is an engineer that we refer almost all of our stormwater permits to, if you had any other questions, and I don't know that you do, but I did invite him, so I wanted to make sure that he had the opportunity to speak to you if you
Right,
wanted.
thank you. Thanks for coming. But where are we in our...
We are in discussions and
Can we make a motion?
questions. Sure, yes.
Well, I would make a motion to adopt... Trying to reference it here. Whoops. I would make a motion to adopt ordinance 01921 with 8.2.15C amended for a 10-year. And I guess we call it 10-year just to substitute 10 for 25.
Yep.
And the reason being that it is, not that it's always good to be consistent with our neighbors, but at least we're becoming, it's a more stringent policy than we currently have. And, we can take another step as need be as we move forward. So I would make a motion to approve with that change.
Okay. We have a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 4-0. Okay, new business. Mr. Sneed, 8A.
I propose that the board adopt an ordinance or an amended ordinance to allow the hiring of any attorney other than the appointment of the town attorney, which is required by statute to be done to this board, authorizing the town manager to employ outside counsel for a variety of reasons. The reason being a recent case in the city of Albemarle. They have, and I don't know why, I can't remember the case stated, but they went to outside counsel just to enforce an ordinance. Someone had been cited, given a notice of violation. It got appealed, and he was going to court to enforce it. Once they got to court, the other side moved to dismiss because that attorney there had not been a resolution by their governing board to hire the attorney. Case got dismissed. Very strange case. Nonetheless, that was the law. Their ordinance provided that any attorney to be hired had to be hired by resolution of the council. Our ordinance doesn't state that, but it could be implied that the board has to hire any outside counsel, and I propose this amendment just so it's clear. The board needs to hire somebody to advise the Board of Adjustment, handle a case that for the town that's maybe outside my field of expertise because of conflict. And as I mentioned in the agenda meeting, even if you have a workers' comp case and the insurance company brings in a lawyer, that lawyer is your lawyer. And so I propose this amendment just so that it's clear the town manager can make that hire. You don't end up getting kicked out of court because it didn't come to this board. Sometimes timeliness is not going to wear that. Sometimes Josh might have to have an attorney come to the Board of Adjustment because I got the flu the day before. Right. And so that creates problems. That's the reason I proposed this amendment.
Okay, any questions from Ron? All right, I need a motion to adopt ordinance number O-19-27, authorizing town manager to employ attorneys as presented.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Passes 4-0. Okay, Jessica and Josh, RFQ proposal recommendation.
I'll take a stab at it first. I don't think it'll be too extensive, but if you'll recall, during our last budget, we did budget some money to do an update to our comprehensive plan and future land use map. Typically, towns do this every 5 years. We're on that schedule now. It's been 5 years since we've had an update. And for those that don't know what a comprehensive plan is, that is something that's extremely important to towns, usually put together by the planning department, and we look at everything townwide, from existing conditions to future conditions to recreation, public. I mean, everything is looked at. There's usually, and there will be with this one, a lot of public input, a lot of public engagement to get the opinions of the public, the citizens. We did choose Clarion to do the update for us as far as a staff recommendation. We sent this out. We had ample time for folks to respond. We got 4 responses from different firms. And like I said, we chose Clarion. They've done over 100 successful comprehensive plans. They fit pretty much what we were looking for as far as our RFQ. They followed it very well. They've got a lot of experience with visioning, community engagement, and as I mentioned, comprehensive planning. So staff would recommend that we choose Clarion to do the comprehensive plan and future land use map update.
Okay. Any questions?
The only comment I would make, and just to clarify and correct me if I'm wrong, but for the public, but besides the comprehensive plan being important for the town, for folks to have an idea of some direction that the town government is taking, but you really need to have a document like that, an effective, up-to-date comprehensive plan for grant purposes, don't you? If it's not in your comprehensive plan, that's not a. You want to highlight areas for fundraising in the comprehensive, or grant making anyway, in the comprehensive plan. That's kind of what it's about, isn't it?
It helps out a great deal to have that.
As the board's also aware, it's sort of mandated backwards, because when you adopt the zoning ordinance, you have to find out that it's in conformance with your comprehensive plan.
Motion to approve.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? 4-0. All right, Josh, snow removal ordinance.
Okay, so this, we touched on this briefly in the agenda meeting an hour or so ago. So this is something that we don't currently have in our town code. It's something that the board at least had interest in me taking a look at and bringing back before you. This ordinance will regulate snow removal from sidewalks, other streets, things of that nature that are not town-owned streets, but streets and sidewalks. This would be throughout the entire town, not just downtown. So it would be, any property owner that had butted a sidewalk, we would, if you pass this in the way it's written, you would be required to remove snow and or ice within 48 hours of that snow event has stopped. This ordinance also addresses parking on the streets during snow removal. I know we've had issues with that in the past. I think last year we ended up having to get a vehicle towed because it was in our way for removing snow. So I wanted to be clear that this does not only affect downtown, this would affect anybody in town. And a lot of this really is due to the reason we don't have the staff to be able to keep up with maintaining sidewalks. We just don't have that number. It's not something uncommon for towns to do. There are many towns around us that currently have this in place that require folks to do that. So I can go through this line by line. It's not too long, but I think the main point is we're looking at some snow removal on sidewalks to be the property owner's responsibility, whereas now we don't have anything like that in our code, and to make sure we have vehicles that aren't obstructing the ability to remove snow if parked in the street. It will also reference mud, dirt, construction material, debris, any of that stuff on sidewalks. So it's not just solely about snow, but about obstruction of sidewalks.
That does include leaves, doesn't it?
Technically, if you're piling leaves on the sidewalk, that is an obstruction.
Yeah,
That's correct.
yeah.
My first thought is all going down 70, that long sidewalk that we have down there, and then we have going out Craigmont. Where are the folks going to put that snow?
That's a good question.
Well,
in their own yard, I suppose. But.
My perception of how this works is that we need an ordinance like this, and I don't have any reason to want to make any changes in it. It's sort of it's a somewhat of an unpleasant thing to present to the community, because we have merchants. We want to do whatever we can to support them. We don't have the resources to do all the sidewalks, especially if it's in the middle of a big snow event, or even a small snow event for that matter. And so the way I look at this ordinance, it's really a clarifying policy to say, you can't expect the town to do it because we simply don't have the resources to do that. And this is an effective way of doing that. And I would be a little surprised if I saw any penalties passed out for failure to clean off someone's sidewalk, because that's usually what a merchant wants to do so that people can, get to their place of business. And do we have any? There's nothing but commercial property that's involved, I assume.
I mean, at Montreat Road, you would have some residential on our new sidewalk up Montreat Road. But I think some of those property owners have cleared the sidewalk in the past.
Anyway, I'll be very honest. To me, the important part of this is clarifying who's responsible. Many of the merchants already are responsible and do that, or homeowners. And so it clarifies who's responsible. It's a little problematic, to be fining people, but I think you have to have that tool in order to make it effective. It's never a pleasant thing to fine anyone. So, I mean, I'm in favor of the policy, because I don't know what alternative you have.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. Anyone else? Motion to adopt ordinance 019-28.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Communication from staff, Mr. Sneed.
I have one. I passed out a photograph before the meeting of the Watson building down on Grovemont Road. As the board has seen, Mother Nature stepped in and two of the walls are down. Early Saturday morning, it was already obvious that Rick Watson was clearing away debris, so that looks like a problem that's going to tend to itself here shortly.
Okay. Josh?
Just remind the board and the citizens, we'll be closed Monday, November 11th for Veterans Day. We'll also be closed for Thanksgiving, the 28th and 29th of this month. And then I would like for you to look at your calendars and see if we can set a date for December to have a meeting to talk about sanitation. And if you want to, I guess we can.
Yeah, why don't you, Angela, just shoot us a date.
Do that.
Yeah.
And then
let me ask this though, while we're on here, is an early morning meeting or a 5 o'clock meeting? Do you think 1 hour would be sufficient for a workshop on that?
I think so.
So 5 to 6 one day. Does that work for everybody? I don't care, but
Yeah, 5 to 6 is preferable for me.
Okay.
and I think we've had comments before that gives the public a little easier time to get here than 8:30 in the morning.
Yep.
Also, on as far as workshops are concerned, I think it would be I would like to ask for a workshop again, 5 to 6 one day, to hit at the traffic study, to do that, a summary for the board on the traffic study that we just completed, the big one that we just completed. There's a good bit to it, and to have it presented during a board meeting is a little much for in a board meeting. So if that's agreeable to the board, for Angela to look for another date, and we just look at the results of the input from the engineers and so forth on the traffic study, and again at a workshop from 5 to 6 one day, whenever we can work it in. Do we need to do that? Should we do that before the year end, or can we do it in January?
Probably January. I was talking to Jessica about that today, and I want to make sure they're wrapped up where they need to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm thinking January.
Yeah.
And then two small things as far as what the planning board did kind of take some action on at their last meeting in October. So they did vote to initiate the start or the beginning of the rezonings for Flat Creek and Montreat. There was enough interest from the citizens that came to the previous meeting to start that process. So those folks are wanting to rezone their property from SR2 to TR4. So that will be coming to you in the next few months. sure you'll see it. And then they also recommended, which will be a call for public hearing at your next meeting, to put in place a traffic impact analysis requirement for certain sizes of projects. I think this was previously, it's in our code now in reference, but it's just not in there. But this specifically would look at, I think if I'm not getting this incorrect, 75 units? The equivalent of 75 units or more would require a traffic impact analysis to determine what kind of effect the traffic would have on wherever they're going to be placing it.
What kind of cost do you think a traffic analysis would be for some project like that?
I hate to say, 10 grand or less, maybe.
Yeah, I think that'd be good to, and I think before you present it to us, you'd have those numbers. But and that's for projects of what size?
75 units or equivalent or greater.
That's pretty sizable, project.
And that's it for me.
Okay, anything from the Board of Alderman?
Mr. Mayor, Josh alluded to the town's going to be closed on Veterans Day. I just publicly want to thank all the town's veterans for their service.
You're here.
For your service.
Oh, also, just in response to the request for decorations, Christmas decorations and so forth, maybe that's just what Josh would want to work into his budget for the next fiscal year. See if it can be worked in. Might be a little challenging to get something done in a month.
Okay, anyone else? Motion to adjourn? All in favor? Meeting adjourned.